So Andrew Tate is joining the world of Misfits, it seems, and he's going to be fighting someone called Chase DeMoore. I've got to admit, I have never heard of this guy. I don't follow Misfits incredibly closely because it's full of fucking misfits. And it's not real, is it? Let's be honest, for most part. It kind of doesn't surprise me that he's doing this, but on one hand, or the other hand, shall I say, it does. Because Tate has this facade making you believe he's this alpha male who is basically better than every other man on the planet, which we know is bullshit. He has this high status. He holds himself to a certain standard and level. He drives his Bugatti, right? And he's the most famous most famous man in the world. Me and Tristan. And yeah, you would think for someone like Tate that Misfits is underneath him because he looks down on everybody as peasants and brokies, in his own words. There was a time a couple of years ago where he was just everywhere, right? He was on every single podcast known to man. I couldn't put on YouTube, certainly 2022, maybe 2023. He was just fucking everywhere. I couldn't watch anything without him. Even the podcast I liked at the time, he was just on all the time. And then he's been through all these horrific allegations made against him, in Romania and the UK, which doesn't seem to be getting better. He's been in prison and he's died a death. No one's hearing of him anymore. Maybe he's on Rumble, I think. I don't go on Rumble, but he's certainly not showing on YouTube. So it begs the question, why is he doing this? Right? Now I believe he is the CEO of Misfits, apparently, and he's taken over KSI's role as CEO of Misfits. That bit doesn't interest me, but it's more is why is he doing this? It's pretty obvious one of the reasons why. He's doing it for obviously clout, right? He wants to be seen. I think he knows his stock is lower than ever. And he wants visibility. He wants to be prominent again as a public figure in the eyes of the media. Because he's no longer really anything. Like I said, I've not really seen much of him at all. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. I genuinely haven't seen much of him at all. He's not really doing any podcasts anymore. So he's got to be, obviously he's doing it for Misfits because Misfits is on the rise. You get a lot of laymen's watching it who are sports fans, just watching it. They don't know anything about boxing or anything like that or MMA, so they'll just watch it. It's full of media personalities and influencers, Insta-famous people, ex-MMA people, reality TV stars. So it's going to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And apparently Misfits does big numbers. It really does. So from a business point of view, I see how it's going to enhance his brand. But then it's also, like I said, it contradicts who Tate believes himself to be and who he tries to tell you and I that he is. This man who's above all this shit, right? His standards are so high. And it begs the question, he's not doing this for free, even if he is CEO of Misfits now. Does he need the money? Does Andrew Tate need the money? He makes out he's one of the richest men in the world. He makes out at one point he had hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't think he ever did. Certainly these lawsuits, ongoing lawsuits and past lawsuits, lawyer fees must be an unquestionable amount, astronomical amount. So he's doing it for the bag. Does he need the money? Maybe he does. Maybe he does. I'm not sure. I don't know his financial situation, but he's doing it for a reason. He's doing it for clout, to get his branding out there, get his name, and he's probably doing it for the bag. But now let's talk about who he's fighting, okay? For those of you probably will know this already, Andrew Tate was a kickboxer for a number of years, and he was an ex-world title champion, okay? But let's just talk about this for a minute. There are various leagues and corporations in kickboxing, like there are in, boxing and MMA specifically. And Tate was a world champion in a specific corporation, we'll call it, that wasn't as highly regarded in terms of the standard or the credibility as the others. Now, this is not me saying that Andrew Tate can't fight. He can clearly fight. I've watched quite a lot of him online, his fights. The man can fight. Certainly could in his younger years. I don't know what he's going to be like at 37, 38, however old he is. I know he trains. He says he trains every day, and I believe him. I do. I believe he's got a coach. But there is certain questions from the kickboxing community, not me, from people who know a lot more about kickboxing than I do, that are questioning the credibility of Andrew Tate's world title, okay, in kickboxing. Apparently the competition wasn't all that, where he won it, and it's nothing compared to the likes of K1 or Glory. Everybody knows K1 and Glory. So would he have won a world title in K1 and Glory? People seem to think in the kickboxing world, people seem to think no, but we'll never know, I guess. And then he's fighting a guy called Chase Demore, and I've got to admit, I don't even know who the fuck this guy is. So I had to look into him. I took one look at the guy before knowing his background. I just saw Misfits heavyweight champion. I was like, fucking hell, here we go. I took one look at him and I said, influencer. I looked into his history and yeah, I'm exactly right. Influencer. Obviously, of course he is. He's part of Misfits. So this Chase Demore guy, who's the current heavyweight Misfits boxing champion, which is a crock of shit, as we know, was in high school football, failed to be drafted in the NFL, apparently signed a contract in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. COVID hit, that didn't happen, and then long story short is he found himself on a reality TV show on Netflix, became Insta famous, became an influencer, and has landed in Misfits like everybody else. All right, my question is, why the fuck is Andrew Tate fighting someone like Chase Demore, who has zero, to my knowledge, combat experience, other than what he's doing now? He might have hit around a few pads as an athlete growing up, but why is Andrew Tate choosing to fight somebody who is, on paper, probably going to beat quite comfortably? Even if Tate hasn't fought for 5 years, why is he doing it? Why? It just doesn't make sense. It's a super easy comeback fight for him, but it doesn't build his stock. It doesn't build his stock whatsoever. I don't think people really care about it. They'll tune in because people either love Andrew Tate or they hate him. And a lot of people want to see him get knocked out. But it doesn't make sense why he's fighting this influencer. Why doesn't he do what Darren Till will do and fight actual fighters? Yes, even if they're not to a creme de la creme standard. Why can't Tate do that? Why is he choosing people that nobody really cares about and that doesn't have a kickboxing or boxing or MMA background like him? Why is he doing this? Because he knows it's going to be a relatively easy payday for him, and he's probably getting paid handsomely for this, and he's not going to have to work particularly difficult for it, or hard for it, rather. Like Darren Till or hate him, you might hate him. He is a bit of an annoying cock at times, but I tell you what, that fucker will be up for a fight with anybody. He will fight anybody. So my question is, even though Darren Till was calling out Andrew Tate some time ago, why is Tate not fighting Till? I'll tell you why. Because he's a shithouse. I don't think he wants any of Darren Till's smoke, what he brings. And you can slate Darren Till. You can say he's not a very good boxer. Sure, he doesn't have the great traditional footwork of a boxer. You can clearly tell the way he moves his feet. He has improved. He's definitely improved in his 3 or 4 fights in Misfits. But you can clearly see he still has the stance of an MMA fighter, or, you know, he was kickboxing, Thai boxing. You can see he moves around, his foot positioning, his movement. You can see he's very much sort of conditioned by MMA. And he is transitioning pretty well into boxing. But I still think he would fuck Andrew Tate up. Tate don't want none of that smoke. So if Tate is really this alpha male, and he really is the most famous man on the planet, why doesn't he fight Darren Till? Why doesn't he stop being such a pussy and fight a real fighter instead of an influencer who's 10 years younger than him? Not that age has got to make a difference, but fight Darren Till. Be a man. Be a real alpha man when you're Bugatti. But he won't, will he? I just find it embarrassing. I find it shameful on his side to do this. It's a cop-out. He's just getting the payday, which is fine. Get the payday, get the bag. That's up to you. But you are no alpha male, my friend, if you are facing an influencer when you've got Darren Till, who would literally sign the contract in the next hour if it was sent over to him. And Till probably wouldn't even look at the payday. He'd get told by his agent and he'd go, fucking hell, mate, yeah. Fucking signing. And he'd just sign it. That's what he'd do. Because Till's a fucking, as much as you might not like him, is an absolute psychopath, and he would do that. And I think he would fucking knock 10 bells of shit out of Andrew Tate. So, interesting times to come. Well, not really. But yeah, Tate's just, he's just leaving himself wide open, showing everybody where he's at. He just won't fight a real fighter. And I guarantee when he beats this Chase Moore, because everybody knows he's going to beat him, when he beats him, I highly, highly, highly doubt he will want to fight Darren Till or anybody of that caliber, if there is, in Misfits. I don't even think he would fight Jake Paul. I really don't. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Watch this space.